Hi everyone. We have finished the video on the Open Catalan with the interesting exercise. And here is the solution. So position is not so simple. We can notice that black has two extra pawns here and white is trying to make bishops quite active right now. Position became quite open, so bishops usually benefit from it. We can notice that black's pawns on the queen side are constantly under pressure, but here is a much more important thing happening on the king side right now. So knight is under pressure, and if it goes away somewhere to active position, g7 pawn can be captured. So if we try to understand what happens after something like knight to d5, it's not only about g7. So after something like bishop takes d5, and if you capture with the pawn c6, which makes sense, you want to improve your pawn structure, there is a nice geometry possible. So queen captures on c7 first, attacking the rook, and after rook goes away somewhere, it doesn't really matter where, let's say rook to c8, queen goes to e5, attacking g7, creating a sort of a checkmate, and the bishop simultaneously, so black is losing material here. By the way, that is exactly how the game has finished. Instead of doing it, black has a much better option at the moment of the attack against the knight on f6. So in this position, black should simplify the things as soon as possible. It's a good strategy. Black has extra material. So one of the possibilities here is to put the queen on d3 to try to exchange queens, because obviously if there are no queens on the board, there will be no attack on the king side. But the main question is, what is going on if white actually captures on f6? Because if you recapture here, then queen takes on f6. And right now, black just failed to simplify the things while white achieved what they wanted. Just captured on f6, got closer to the king, created some concrete threats on the king's side. Appears, though, that taking on f6 is not the only option. Black has an amazing move, rook to b1, which completely turns the tables. So after rook to b1, what's going on? White is similarly having problems with the back rank. You can see that queen now cannot leave diagonal a5, e1 because rook will be captured with check, and there will be a problem for white even to find a way to escape it. A checkmate, pretty much problematic after bishop f1, rook f1 or something like that, or bishop f1 with the quick discovered check. So obviously there is a problem with the king now with the first rank, with the rook, which is always hanging. And with the next useful move, I mean, you cannot even take the rook now. If you take on b1, let's say there is queen takes b1, and it's just a checkmate in 2. So there is no way for white to solve this quickly here. And the question is, what happens though if bishop just goes away somewhere? What happens if bishop captures on g7, for instance? So in this particular case, black may use the fact that queen is overloaded. And the simple rook captures on e1, queen captures on e1, and king captures on g7 allows white to make the position materially balanced again after bishop takes c6. But you can see dramatic changes that happened here. Black is obviously better in this ending because of the pawn structure. So now, as you can see, black has a passer while white has nothing. And well, these doubled pawns are also a problem for white, so they will be quite problematic to protect. Black will always attack them at proper moments. But I want to emphasize the importance of the passer. So the closer it is to the very ending of the game, the importance of the passers increases dramatically. And the side which has a passer in the ending usually benefits a lot and normally has a serious advantage. So I'm not going to say that this position is winning for black, but it's definitely a much better thing compared to the middle game from which this ending has actually arisen, which means that black got exactly what they wanted. What is interesting in the position after rook to b1, white doesn't have anything normal looking to save the bishop, which may be very surprising. So let's have a look at that moment. So here, bishop takes g7 doesn't quite work, but it feels like this bishop has a lot of different squares. Isn't it better, for example, to try something like bishop to e5? Simply going away with the bishop, queen is still protected, rook is still protected. So what is black's idea here? It appears that black just continues with chasing this bishop. And this bishop doesn't have so many squares to go away because this bishop has to protect the queen. So the only square to go away after f6 is just to put the bishop on d4, where after black has another interesting trick. It is c5. And now both pieces are overloaded. The bishop, which has to protect the queen, so bishop c5 will lose a queen, and the queen, which has to protect the rook, so queen takes c5, is also not possible. So to c5, white may try something like bishop to f1, tactical trick, but it doesn't quite help, because after c takes d4, attacking the queen, queen takes d3, and bishop takes d3, we can see that the rook is under attack, and white doesn't have time to take the bishop on d3, and after something like rook b1 and bishop b1, black has absolutely winning bishop ending. There are also other interesting lines. Let's have a look at them and conclude this solution video. So here, if bishop g7 or bishop e5 don't work, then it means that black will capture this bishop on the next move, regaining the material and still having this pressure on the first rank. For example, if queen goes to a5 here, just trying to run away with the queen, not to be a target anymore, black just captures on f6. Then, for example, white tries to solve the problem at the back rank and plays h4. In this case, black just captures on e1, queen e1, and plays c5. With 2 extra pawns, I think it's not a big problem for black to win the game. Almost the same happens if black, instead of playing queen a5, captures the pawn on c6. Let's have a look at that line as well. So in this position, what if white tries bishop takes c6, which may look pretty logical after the lines we have examined, because in this case, king gets this additional g2 square to escape just in case. Well, in this situation, again, g takes f6 is quite good, and it appears it is still not possible to take the rook, although the king has this square on g2, but it doesn't mean that there is no checkmate after queen f1. Pretty nice pattern to remember, by the way. So there is still this problem with this pressure, and after g takes f6, the queen is hanging. So now queen may go to a5, and black may continue with the interesting regrouping. So rook to d1, not the only move, but really just very good looking one. Rook to d1, the idea is to play queen to b1 next move, and to force white to take on d1. So right now, white is forced to do something with the king, because there is no longer time for white to wait. But anyway, whatever happens, black still has extra material and should literally win this game. So that's the solution. I hope you found it interesting. It was not that obvious, especially the rook b1 part, but I hope it was useful and provided you with some new patterns and some new information. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like if you really liked this content. See ya.